Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Peter.
Hey everybody, before we get started, I want to give a quick mention to Manning Publications' live Manning conferences. Manning are running a series of one-day conferences. Free to attend, just sign up using the link in our show notes. On September 15th is their RustConf, featuring 4 expert speakers and a series of 10-minute lightning talks. We still have a long way to go to achieve diversity, inclusion, and equality in technology. Manning's contribution is the Women in Tech online conference on October 13th, starring the women rocking the tech boat. Link to sign up in the show notes. No need to travel anywhere. Live at Manning conferences streamed globally via Twitch.
Episode 83, recorded on August 19th, 2020. The Cloud Pod takes a quantum leap. Good afternoon, guys. It is a hot day here in the Bay Area with the heat wave in full effect.
Indeed. Yeah, not to mention the ash. We have ash.
Yeah, and of course California is burning again. So it's, not only is it hot, but you're going to now not be able to breathe while it's hot. So it's pretty miserable all around here in California. Plus, it's still social distancing. I can't do anything, and everyone's tired of being in their house and seeing their family. That's how this was working these days.
On the plus side, though, I have no desire to go outside right now because it feels like a hellscape and it's really hard to breathe. So it's like, I don't mind being inside.
Yeah. Sort of looks like one too.
Yeah.
I got a really cool picture of a bright red sun this morning. It's like something from sci-fi. Superman would be very disappointed.
Yeah. A little bit of Blade Runner, maybe. That's the one that comes to mind for the red sun in sand or whatever. All right. Well, we got an action-packed show for you this week, once again, here at the Cloud Pod. First is Amazon is potentially looking to invest in Rackspace, which would link 2 longtime players in the cloud technology space. They're looking to acquire a minority stake, Rackspace, which works with AWS businesses to help enterprises adopt the cloud. This was a rumor reported by Reuters this week. Amazon Rackspace discussions are in preliminary stage, and it's not guaranteed that a deal will happen. Potentially, it won't happen because it's leaked, which people don't like either. Apparently, Rackspace shares rose 17% on the news, where they just went IPO a few weeks ago. So that's a nice little boost if you were in the Rackspace IPO market. But it's unclear how much Amazon would be willing to buy of the company. And Rackspace, of course, is going to be a big play in enterprise for many, many years to come. So I actually mentioned this, I think, to you guys multiple years ago, that Amazon should just buy Rackspace when they went private the first time. Because they desperately needed to scale their professional services. Rackspace would give them a really great opportunity to do that. And that would also give a path for existing Rackspace managed services customers to the cloud. That all Amazon could do for all of that, which I thought would have been awesome. And then, of course, they didn't do that because Amazon never listens to me.
Kind of got to wonder how many other vendors, cloud vendors, Rackspace will be recommending their customers migrate to if Amazon have a stake.
Well, having recently sat through a demo and a sales pitch from Rackspace, it was very Amazon-centric. Yeah. I don't remember any GCP or any Azure coming up in that conversation. It was probably heavily targeted at us, which is why we didn't hear that. But they were definitely talking about CCOE and things that are very Amazon-specific in their pitch, which was interesting. And I think there's companies that could take a lot of value from the Rackspace story with Annika and some of the other things they do. And I could see how this would really help empower the professional services team at AWS.
I'm just really impressed with the speed. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it'll be interesting because ProServe has a pretty different charter from partner work. And usually they work with partners to do hands-on work that ProServe won't do for liability reasons. So I don't know if it's specifically to help scale ProServe per se, or to have a partner that they have a little bit more influence and ability to help scale from the partner aspect. And that would make sense. That would make a minority investment make more sense.
Unless you're Foghorn upset about this. Because you could take a minority investment from Amazon, too, to help do the same thing. It doesn't have to be Rackspace, necessarily.
It doesn't have to be. We would have a much harder time making an impact on an Amazon scale, though.
Yeah.
Rackspace have got some pretty cool real estate, too, if Amazon ever wanted to build a data center in Texas, for example.
Yeah.
Well, it happens to be a mall, which apparently Amazon's really interested in buying mall space to do distribution centers. So maybe that's the play. They're like, we actually don't need Rackspace. We just want your mall. Just sell us your mall so we can build a distribution center.
I've been to the mall. It's really cool.
Is it?
Nice. I had a tour, yeah. I'd never use Rackspace again, but the mall's pretty neat.
Yeah, Yeah, they've been through some turmoil. Got bought by private equity, now re-IPO and all that. It's interesting how they've kind of converted themselves into being a really cloud player from that legacy managed services vendor they used to be. So it's really quite interesting. But I don't necessarily know that it's a bad thing or good thing if Amazon does this, but I am interested to see if they do something. Well, last year, Amazon did not, and might have announced a service called Amazon Braket and explained the basics of quantum computing, starting from qubits and progressing to quantum circuits. And Amazon Braket is not, or might be generally available today. And you can now make use of the both classically powered circuit simulator and quantum computers from D-Wave, IonQ, and Rigetti. This blog post we're linking to here in the show walks you through setting up a simple circuit using the notebook interface, the same notebook interface you have in SageMaker. And there are many things you should keep in mind when looking at this technology, including this is a quantum computing is, of course, an emerging field. And while some folks are experts, others will take some time to understand the concepts and the technology and figure out how to put them to use. QPUs, which is the compute unit that you can use through Braket, support two different paradigms, the IonQ and Rigetti QPUs, and support the simulator support circuit-based quantum computing, and the D-Wave QPU supports quantum annealing. I don't know what either of those mean, so great. Sounds appealing to me. Yeah. Each task that you run will incur a per task charge and additional per shot charge that is associated to the type of QPU that you use. The simulators incur an hourly charge billed to the second with a 15-second minimum, and notebook pricing is the same as SageMaker. I did not know enough about how to price this out, so I just took blindly from Amazon's pricing sheet. So a developer designed a quantum circuit to use 30 qubits and simulate the circuit using the Amazon Braket managed simulator. The simulation took 69 minutes, or 1.15 hours, to execute, and the developer was charged the rate of $4.50 per hour for a total of $5.17. If you want a more expensive example, the researcher ran a quantum annealing problem on the D-Wave 2000Q quantum computer. This task included 2,000 result samples of the sample annealing problem, and the cost to execute the test was 68 cents. Okay, maybe not more expensive. And then the most expensive option they gave you was the scientists ran a quantum algorithm on the Rigetti Aspen 8 quantum computer. The task included 10,000 repeated shots of the same circuit design, and the cost of executing this task was $3.80. Okay, so apparently quantum is not as expensive as I thought it was. That's all I've learned. Or maybe it is.
I think they're missing their third class of person here. It's like some folks are experts. Some folks will take some time. Some folks will never have a clue how this stuff works.
For those at home, I'm raising my hand. Like I look at these things and I'm like, I'm jealous of the people that get to work on these cutting edge technologies, but I'm also sort of relieved that I don't have to. This would be a very big ask for my little brain to try to get to bend around for figuring out how to use this solution. So, it's great that it's being offered.
Yeah, the few times that I've read up about quantum encryption, my brain explodes. I'm like, oh my god, this is so complicated.
Wasn't there a movie?
Mentioned the implications of our existing cryptographic ciphers, and they're. Was
there a movie a while ago, like an 80s movie, where there was a video arcade game of some kind, and the people who played the game were actually being screened by an alien race to go and fight for them in a war someplace? Remember that?
I mean, there's an old 80s movie where, The Last Starfighter, and there's a book I just read. There's a book I just read that with a very similar plot line as well.
I kind of wonder if people who start to use these quantum cloud services are just being scrutinized for being scooped up to become quantum software developers or quantum whatever. There's so few people who know anything about it.
Yeah, the experts that I have pictured in my brain look a lot like Doc from Back to the Future.
So funny you should mention that. In the article, if you go to it, there is a video with one of the head product managers and Bill Vaz, VP of AWS Technology, who basically walks you through this thing. And I saw the picture of him, and I was like, yeah, looks like a guy who'd be into quantum. I get it. With no real idea what anyone who gets into quantum looks like, but it fit the mold that I was like, yeah, that'd be the guy. I can see it. So it's all good. Well, AWS Step Functions has added updates to many things in choice states, global access to context objects, dynamic timeouts, result selections, and intrinsic functions to the Amazon States language. Of course, Amazon States language is how you connect things with workflows in Step Functions between AWS Lambda, AWS Fargate, and Amazon SageMaker. to create rich applications. They are enhancing the step functions with the update to the ASL, which I just covered all those things a second ago. And they go into many, many details here, including the ability to do things like compare things in choices, like comparison operators, existence tests, wildcarding, and variable-to-variable comparisons. Global access to context objects previously was only accessible to the parameter block. Hey, did you know there was another parameter thing at Amazon? Didn't know that one. But with this update, removing the restriction, you have the flexibility to reference the context object outside the parameter block. And then new timeout options for dynamic timeouts, including timeout second paths and heartbeat seconds paths. New result selectors and string constructions, and ability to take JSON to a string or a string to a JSON. So weird. Available in all regions that subfunctions are available. And before the show, Ryan said he understands this perfectly because I do not. And so he's going to now try to explain what I just explained to you in layman's terms.
Yeah.
Yes.
After the quantum, conversation, I'm really happy to at least something I can understand. I mean, the end result of step functions, which are great, is that moving from stage to stage in the state machine. You were just limited in the inputs and what you can make a decision on. And so this is just adding a lot more inputs and types of inputs that you can use in order to make determinations on how you progress from state to state. It's one of those things where, this is one of those situations where it's rope to hang yourself with as well, because you can make a very complex state machine that can go and fork in multiple areas. And the more you introduce that into your design flow, the more likely you're going to end up with, like a repetitive loop or something that, never completes, or, race conditions of other sorts. But, I'm for flexibility in tools, and so give me the rope to hang myself with and let me learn that the hard way, as Justin knows, since he has to usually pay for those things when I learn the hard way.
Oh, we should do a segment on that.
Yeah, Ryan learns a thing. Yeah.
I wonder if that's the fastest possible spend that you could have done on AWS. We should think about that.
It was pretty quick.
It might be. I might reach out to Corey on that one and see if that's because I think that's the discussion series he has.
Ryan, what if you were going to name the ideal use case of a type of workload that fits super well on STEP?
So primarily, this supports, serverless primarily. So you're doing Lambdas, which is primarily how I use it, but also, SageMaker and container-based, using Fargate. So it's really one of those, if you think about not really the typical Kubernetes, web or middle tier fronted by a service, communication. These are more of the task-driven or event-driven things where you, based on some sort of trigger, some sort of change, you're going to do a bunch of compute or analysis on a thing, and then fire it off to the next step. What step functions allows you to do is rather than putting all that logic of what to do inside the function, you can concentrate your functions to distill it down to just what you need. And the step functions are where you provide the logic for, I was able to process this data, I'm moving on to the next step of publishing this data or verifying this data, and you're defining all those as your states in your state machine, rather than putting that logic within your Lambda or your container. So it's just it's another way of doing things, just like most Amazon services. It's another tool in your Swiss Army knife.
Cool.
I think there's one really useful use case that I like step functions for, and that's if you're waiting around for a long time for something to happen. If it was Lambda, you'd have to keep firing off the Lambda, and then, am I ready yet? No. Okay, try again in 60 seconds. But step functions kind of abstracts that for you, and it can be changes in DynamoDB, it can be objects in S3, anything can be the trigger that moves things to the next step. So it could be a link in an email that somebody clicks. Once they click it, it goes to the next part of the step function, which does it send them a coupon? Does it do whatever? But it means you don't have to have something sitting there polling the whole time. I mean, AWS have something sitting there polling the whole time, but we don't have to. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, think of adding the timeout options. Think about how you would have to do that without managing that state. You got to fire up some invocation to basically make the determination not to do a thing, right? And so now you can move that abstraction into the state machine, and you don't have to necessarily run compute resources in order to make that determination.
Probably easier also that you're centralizing a lot of that logic in one place instead of it starting to sprinkle about different Lambda functions and different S3 config files that people are creating as they build something and as it grows organically.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like the ASL is sort of a document flow or a process flow as code in a ways. Like if you think about how if you have a serverless application that has a bunch of different Lambda functions and DynamoDBs and triggers from CloudWatch events, like it can get complicated very fast. And whatever documentation you're trying to put in place to sort of communicate that is probably going to be out of date very quickly. So having a JSON, basically construct of that is helpful as well.
Okay.
Deep dive.
You guys kept jumping back into it, so I was just letting you guys go. I was like,
Yeah.
that was a deep dive.
Deep dives. I like deep dive.
Yeah.
Well, AWS Security Hub Automated Response and Remediation Solution is now generally available to you. This is a reference implementation that includes a library of automated security response and remediation actions to common security findings. Security Hub gives you a comprehensive view of your security posture across your AWS accounts, or either in specific accounts or in your entire organization. And customers can create a CloudWatch event rule to invoke on-demand response workflows for selected findings across their AWS accounts, or they can use CloudWatch events or rules to make fully automated actions on specific types of findings. Many customers find the process to set up CloudWatch event rules difficult, so you should fix that, and time-consuming, and create the permissions to enable them to run across account can be complex. Version 1.0 includes 10 prepackaged security playbooks to remediate security findings, which they did not list all of them, but they gave us a couple examples, including customers can apply recommendations to ensure key rotation within 90 days, establish strong password policies, or enforce encryption of event logs stored in AWS, as a couple examples.
Yeah, this architecture has been, we've all been using this architecture for years with CloudWatch events and other notifications. But I do think what's super cool is starting to package up those playbooks and aligning them with the business requirements that the security team wants to be able to know that it's implemented correctly. So I would imagine that starts getting extended past generic and into vertical specific compliance or regulatory playbooks.
Yeah, if you think about the specialization of the engineer that has to use these tools, are they going to be super good at automation and the AWS ecosystem in order to create these very challenging solutions, or are they going to be really good at forensic analysis and risk detection and other more security centric things? So this is a great enabler if you were in one bucket and not the other. I think if you're more technical, you're going to find these two limiting. I feel that way about most Amazon solutions that they do in this, where they're not really telling you anything. This isn't a product that you use. This is a implementation of existing services that they're sort of defining for you. And so, but if you're not really into super customization, this is a great enabler. And even the people that are into super customization can at least start here and then make modifications.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn, the promise of cloud delivered.
You can now use a new capability in Amazon Systems Manager Distributor to deploy and install and manage a popular third-party agent. With this launch, you can select a pre-built agent directly from the distributor without having to create or maintain your own software packages, which when this gets integrated into Marketplace, thank you, Jesus. The first partner to do this is Trend Micro Cloud One Agent. This is the first one being offered through this capability, and the software packages are stored in Systems Manager, providing a centralized repository with version control. So you can pick your version from the list of published artifacts from Trend, and then get those out to your servers, all through the automation of Systems Manager.
It's pretty cool. It's like adding layers of somebody else's software.
It's like a third-party library, right?
Yeah.
A publishing library.
Yeah, it just starts with a trend agent, but it could be anything. It could be any piece of software that you want to license and install. Yeah. And if they have some
Bitcoin miner.
Yeah, that too. Let's do it. We have those inference engines now to use.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. You're jumping the show notes, Jonathan. Come on.
Yeah, very packaging and productizing configuration management.
Yeah. Well, KubeCon Europe was this week, so there's a ton of container news this week as well from all the vendors. AWS Fargate for Amazon EKS now supports Amazon EFS, which, if you remember, came to ECS in early April. Supporting EFS access points and on-demand provisioning of EFS capacity to meet your container workload needs. This does leverage the Container Storage Interface, or CSI, which is standard for exposing block and file storage systems to containerize workloads. The general availability of EFS CSI driver for EKS was in July of 2020, and this release takes advantage of that general availability. So again, like we see all the time, little pieces get released, and then all of a sudden a big solution comes out, just like this one. So good to see once again that stateful containers are a thing, I guess.
Well, it's stateful containers, but it's that interface that really makes it work, right? It's missing from a lot of other container orchestrators, and so it's really the ability to provision storage on demand and manage that using the same ecosystem. Versus, you can do that now with ECS and EFS using other automation tools, but Kubernetes has long had the advantage of being able to declare that stateful storage layer, where other systems just don't have it.
If you're also excited to run your machine learning workloads, you can now do that with ECS as well, because it now supports the EC2 Inf1 instances with our clusters for high performance and the lowest prediction costs in the cloud for ML AI workloads. This is coming a few weeks after EKS also received this capability, so you can now run all those machine learning workloads in containers. And I'm super excited to support containers, I guess, with my machine learning team.
There you go. Yeah.
So I think this development's interesting because I wonder, like, ECS for task-driven workloads, in my opinion, holds the advantage over Kubernetes. It's a lot easier and user-friendly to define ephemeral workloads in the ECS system versus Kubernetes, which is very, very much designed for how to route traffic and how to support your app and the management layer. And don't get me started on nested YAML files because that'll be a very long show. But so it is. I like seeing them add this kind of capabilities because I think that this is one of those areas where ECS really shines. So it's great.
I'm still a big fan of ECS, even over EKS. Just so much simpler. So much simpler.
It's just much more is managed for you. Much more.
Yeah. Even using Fargate for EKS, I've been playing with that a little bit. You're still writing just tons of JSON, which you know how much I love to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, we talked about a serverless tool called SLS-DevTools. And at the time, I don't think we fully understood exactly what it was. And we have now been enlightened by the AWS serverless hero, Ben Ellerby, who wrote a guest blog on the AWS blog. The SLS DevTools are open source project that aims to be a set of developer tools for the serverless world. Basing the interface in the terminal allows it to run in the development environment. The SLS DevTools provide rapid internal feedback, so you don't have to use the console. Targeted metrics allow you to build fast and efficient applications right from the console. Powerful key bindings to deploy, open, and manipulate stack resources. It works with CloudFormation-based IAC, such as the Serverless Framework or the AWS Serverless Applications model, and an automated best practices audit via SLS DevTools Guardian to make sure you're not doing bad practices in your Lambda functions. So this is actually really cool, and if you take a look at this article, they have some screenshots of basically this working in the console, and it kind of gives you like a little top-type interface directly to your Lambda function while it's running and executing. So you can get that real-time feedback right there while you're writing the code and realize, this maybe isn't the best, most efficient way I could do that. Maybe I can make this more optimal. There's lots of great opportunities to use this in your dev pipeline, and I do highly recommend you take a look at this if you're doing a lot of serverless app work.
That screenshot looks like something from the movie Hackers, though. Seriously, the green screen terminal with the chart drawn on it in ASCII. It's pretty cool.
It is. You look at the key bindings and stuff. I don't think that's an accident. I think that like a lot of the feature set in here is designed for, I don't know, the stereotypical development practice, I guess. But yeah, I'm super excited to try this out. I needed the pretty pictures to really understand it. I thought, when this was first announced, I thought it was more of a framework in the sense of this is how you do, serverless software development, which is a little dry and works for usually single use case. And so this is much more powerful than I thought. And so I can't wait to use this. And I will be a cool hacker because it's going to look like, 1983 green screen.
But do you have a mechanical keyboard? If you don't have a mechanical keyboard, you're not allowed to use the tool.
It doesn't work yet.
Oh, no. I don't know if I'm that cool.
I've got one.
Of course you do. We know you're cool.
I can't use it. It drives my wife insane. I have to unplug it. I can only use it when she's not around.
You definitely can't use it on the podcast because we already deal with Peter's typing all the time anyways. He's co-working on his side over there. He's like, I've
done a great job of not touching the keyboard.
He's writing his novel. It's a rival War and Peace.
Yes. Well, this next one is interesting to me. This is a security concern I had not considered or knew about until this article came out from AWS. Apparently now the application and classic load balancers are supporting HTTP desync mitigation mode, a new feature that protects your applications from issues due to HTTP desync. Which first question I had was, what is HTTP desync? So basically, the way they explain this is modern day web apps are typically built with a chain of proxies that ensure fast and reliable communication between clients and servers. And immediately when I read this, I realized, they're talking about having an ALB in front of a Kubernetes cluster, maybe going into a service mess with Istio that's then going into some type of Nginx abomination that's then going to an actual Apache web server that you're doing for all kinds of different reasons. And the reality is that when you're dealing with the RFC 7230 spec for proxying and for HTTP headers, they may not all support them in the same way, or they may support them in ways that are different. And so those HTTP 1.1 requests, they may have differences in interpretation while parsing non-compliant requests. And these differences in interpretation can cause desync, where different proxies in the chain may disagree on request boundaries and therefore may not process the same request in the same way. And this could leave behind arbitrary messages that may be appended to the next request in the queue and smuggled to the back end. And this can make apps vulnerable to request queue or cache poisoning, which could lead to credential hijacking or execution of unauthorized commands. And to mitigate this, many people will just turn off non-conforming RFC. But that can then cause all kinds of other fun real-world breakage, especially if you don't understand how Istio works or some of the other magic that's happening in the proxying world these days. And as a result, pursuing a strategy of only allowing RFC-compliant conformance could pose an availability risk to some valid use cases. To enable this, it uses the AWS open source library called HTTP Desync Guardian, which you can find on their GitHub. You can configure your load balancer with checking a box and choosing the appropriate mitigation strategy based on the security needs of your application. This comes in 3 modes. The default is defensive. The next one is the strictest, and the third is the monitor mode. The defensive mode allows your app to receive known safe requests irrespective of their RFC 7230 compliance. It blocks requests that are known RFC compliant, it does not block RFC compliant ones, and it does block known security threats against RFC 7230. And third, it will close both the client and upstream connections irrespective of HTTP keep alive limits for ambiguous requests. Strictest mode is that mode they said don't do, which says only allow the 7230 compliant traffic. And then, of course, monitor mode allows your load balancer to forward requests receives, regardless of the classification of the app behind it, because you don't care about this concern because you're not doing this craziness. All 3 modes offer you CloudWatch metrics to see if you are doing it or if it's a problem for you. And this is available at no extra charge from Amazon. So thanks, Amazon, for that. I appreciate free features.
This is a classic example of why I just don't see myself ever being, a non-hyperscaler consumer. Like, there's no way I'm finding this risk or this attack vector on my own. I'm just not a security engineer that's that in the weeds. But because I, deploy into Amazon, I'm going to go click. And I've got all that protection built in. And, in the highly secure environment, I'll turn on break mode and see what happens. And when that breaks, I'll turn it into passive mode and see what's actually causing the failure. So this is fantastic.
I always like this kind of exploits, though, where you've got some very complex systems that you think you understand and you think they're going to plug into each other in exactly the way you expect, and these weird artifacts where unexpected things just happen. And this was an awesome find by the Black Hat researcher who found it last year.
Yeah, because it's really interesting because it reminds me a lot of, your Cisco and your Juniper and your HP switches all support spanning tree. And then when you actually plug them in together and say talk spanning tree, they don't actually all talk spanning tree. It kind of reminds me of that in some way, which is it takes me right back to my old networking days.
Yeah, and it's funny because you usually think of every time you throw a proxy in front of something, you're kind of adding to the abstraction and the obscurity and therefore the security. And that's actually causing the problem here, which is counterintuitive. But it is kind of funny. I mean, we've done recently a few application, just running through application penetration tests, and you find problems with HTTP headers, and you're okay, go remediate this. Here's the problem, and everyone disagrees as to whether or not how to make that change, and then you start digging down and you start realizing, oh, okay, yeah, what actual device is setting this header right now? Because there's so many layers of proxies and forwarders involved.
Commvault is data management done differently. Commvault knows how important your data is to your business, enabling you to learn more about your data, manage your data, move your data securely and efficiently, and quickly recover your data to meet critical business needs. Available as a cloud-based software as a service solution, deployed on your existing on-premise virtualization environment, or as an appliance-based offering, their simple and centralized web interface lets you synchronize your data between on-premise data centers and your cloud environments, keeping downtime due to failures at a minimum. With Commvault, you can translate your virtual workloads to a cloud provider automatically, greatly simplifying the move to the cloud or your disaster recovery solution to the cloud. Commvault supports over 40 different cloud vendors, giving you the ability to use the cloud that is right for your business. To learn how Commvault can help you manage your data differently, save money, and reduce risk, head to www.thecloudpod.net/Commvault to find out more and schedule your free trial of their SaaS offering.
All right. Well, this next article is another AMD EPYC processor announcement from AWS. They now have the new 3.3 gigahertz generally available for the C5 AD class of incidents, which are equipped with a local NVMe-based SSD block storage. We have made a decision that until the third generation EPYC processors come out, we are never talking about this again here on the show, just because Amazon has milked this story for way too long now. So we will skip this one, just like we do general availability announcements typically, and some of the other things that are like new availability zones. We typically don't talk about those here on the show, and so this is being added to the list. We are not going to talk about the AMD EPYC processor second gen C5 AD expansion anymore.
I think it's just the name. It's whoever's
it was fun.
in the press
for a
corps,
while.
they
Like,
understand
EPYC.
this.
Yeah, exactly.
EPYC. Yeah.
EPYC. Yeah. I learned a lot more about all of AMD's processors because I've been looking at building a new gaming system, the Threadripper and the Ryzen 9, and all the different things. And then there's the EPYC out there, which is way too expensive for my price badge.
And it doesn't perform as well actually for games. If you're going to build a gaming system, it's not built for gaming. It's got pretty crappy single core performance.
Yes, that is very true.
Because I've been doing the same research as you for the same reasons.
That's what happens when one of your good friends decides to build a gaming computer and he's bragging about his amazing benchmarks, and you're like, ooh, yeah, I want that too.
It's like a virus.
But he's still playing a 20-year-old game, so,
Yeah, I mean, he is playing at bot mode, so he's got like 17 copies of that game from 17-year-olds playing, so he can play by himself, which is interesting commentary of the world too. But anyways.
You should hear the arguments he gets into himself.
Yeah, I know. No, you're not supposed to pull that mob. What are you doing? Yeah, it's fun. Well, AWS Systems Manager Explorer has now released a new feature which will only get replaced by a competing solution from AWS very soon, which is what happens with all good SSM tools. I'm looking at you, Secrets Manager. You can now use Systems Manager Explorer to provide a summary of support cases across all of your AWS accounts to help you get a better visibility into the operational health of your AWS environment. The Systems Manager Explorer is an ops dashboard that provides a view of your operations data, helping you see where you may need to investigate and remediate operational issues, which typically support cases are opened by people, so I'm not sure that's an ops issue per se, but hey, so I'll go with the story in Amazon. The aggregated view of support cases can be broken down by status across specific accounts or your entire organization, and you can choose individual cases in the support case widget for detailed investigation and filter the data, export the results of CSV, and publish an Amazon SNS notification. And you can also query the Explorer data directly with the API to create customized reports. This is available only, though, to business and enterprise support customers. So if you are on the free support, I'm sorry, you can't open tickets anyways. So it makes sense.
Right.
For you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why this isn't part of the support portal. Instead of being part of Systems Manager, I guess because it's a read-only mode, you can't actually create tickets on their accounts using Systems Manager.
That's why I feel like this is a feature ripe to be replaced by organizations at some point.
Yep.
Support an organization sometime in the next year. This has been a feature we've asked for a long time, is how do we centralize support across multi-account environments? And this is a good stepping stone. They probably were able to build it here faster than building something in organizations, but you can just tell it's going to be replaced by something else, because that's what happens with all Systems Manager features, because people want the same features, but they don't want to use Systems Manager. That's the story.
And every report's going to say the same thing.
As someone who has like a very Rube Goldberg system that does provide me centralized visibility into our support cases, they should not do this. It's a terrible idea.
Service limit increase. Service limit increase.
Yeah,
Service limit increase.
Yeah.
Now you can export them as a CSV and see how many service limit increases you did.
Ooh.
Which is great because I just actually completed automation to do just that.
Perfect. Features that Sherlock your stuff all the time. That's what happens.
Thanks, Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah, you always gotta love that.
Yeah.
Again, Amazon's quest to become Skynet is now going to another step forward with the announcement of WorldForge in AWS RoboMaker. AWS RoboMaker WorldForge makes it faster, simpler, and less expensive to create a multitude of 3D virtual worlds to simulate your robot in. Robotic app developers and QA engineers can automatically create hundreds of user-defined, randomized 3D virtual environments that mimic real-world conditions without extra engineering investment or infrastructure management. And you can generate one of these worlds for only $1.50 and export your world to S3 bucket for $5. So your world is worth only $1.50. But looking at some of the screenshots that are in this particular one, it just looks like maybe something you might want to use with robot vacuums, like rooms. I might want to put a little virtual robot in and say, "Hey, go figure out the best way to do that," and then do that across thousands of simulations to see which way is the best way to go to take on world domination from a vacuum cleaner. That's what I see.
What if you're not happy with the world you got? Like it's just a crap world. It's like I didn't get anything that looked like there was in the catalog.
I really hate that
There's a
wallpaper.
bunch of pebbles and molehills. She's like, this isn't it. It's not what I wanted.
I don't know if you ever played SimCities 2000 or the earlier iterations of it, but once you got tired of your world, you just put Godzilla on it or an earthquake or hurricane, and you just wiped it out. That's what I used to do.
Yeah, same here.
We should troll AWS support with this and tell them we absolutely hate our neighbours.
And Amazon has decided to save us money finally with the new AWS Certificate Manager Private Certificate Authority now supporting private CA sharing. ACM Private Certificate Authorities now support sharing a private CA with any AWS account or within your entire organization using the AWS Resource Access Manager to share this across your accounts. This allows you to do in-account TLS SSL certificates, and this eliminates the need to provision duplicate resources in every account in a multi-account environment, reducing costs and complexity. And this is a lot of cost for a lot of companies because those private CAs are not cheap.
Yeah, and if you've got a really sprawling strategy, lots of accounts and very few resources per account, it just makes it not possible to use from a cost perspective.
Yeah. So I'm super happy to see this one. Makes me now want to build my own CA service built on top of this for the day job. I want this.
Crap.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the roadmap is full for 2020. So
Yes.
2021. Here we go.
Starts with a CA, then it's going to be Kubernetes.
Oh no. It's true.
So true. Well, moving on to GCP, who again is still in week 12 of their Google Next something. The first thing they wanted to announce this week for you is that the BigQuery data warehouse now is 99.99% available. This requires continuous uptime and data warehouses as analytics demands grow and organizations require rapid access to mission-critical insights, and disruption of unplanned downtime can severely impact company sales, reputation, and customer relations. With this in mind, they are announcing the industry-leading 99.99% uptime per calendar month, increasing from 99.9%. This means that you went from 40-some-odd minutes to 5 minutes of downtime per calendar month with no planned downtime, ensuring full business continuity in your organization, which I think it's cool, but I was surprised they didn't announce a price increase for this at the same time, because that's what they did the last time they increased in SLA. But if you need this capability with your BigQuery and you need this for real-time business decisions, I'm sure you're super happy with only 5 minutes of downtime versus 40 minutes. Because if that breaks the bank, then you should probably be worried about this.
I'm pretty sure that Google were already the leaders in providing BigQuery uptime, since they are the only people who provide BigQuery uptime.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Or BigQuery in general.
Yeah.
I think they're saying they're industry leading in the data warehouse space.
I don't know any.
Which technically, I think if you... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I don't know of any other providers who are doing database, data warehouse SLAs at 4 nines.
No, they are the only one doing a pure data warehouse solution at 4 nines. There was some chatter on this on Twitter. I went and looked at Azure because someone said, I think Azure has this. Azure Synapse, which is their competitor product, is 99.9% as well. But one of the interesting things is that Azure SQL Server, you can get 99.995%.
Oh.
and you can add data warehousing technology to that. So you could get it, but that's not a manage out of the box data warehouse solution, so it doesn't count.
Can't believe it. Snubbed 99.995.
They're just more prepared to pay when they miss it.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what really happens in these SLAs. It's not about they actually providing, it's very possible BigQuery's never had an outage and it's been 100% availability, but they're not willing to commit to that because they don't want to pay you if it does go down. This is all about how much risk is a company willing to pay for in their service. So, it's good to see. I'm glad to see it, but it doesn't mean as much as people think it does.
As the number gets bigger, though, doesn't it get easier to extend the nines? Because it's like, okay, from 4 nines to like 11 nines, you can only have to pay for a possible of just under 5 extra minutes of downtime.
If you actually look at the infrastructure costs of those nines, right? Typically, it's estimated that for every 9 of availability you add to a service, it's $1 million in spend. So, I mean, if you actually want to make your technology meet the SLA you commit to, now you don't have to. You can take the risk side, and you probably pay way less than $1 million in event of an outage. But that's typically what we look at in infrastructure space. So, from a business perspective, it's probably a very low risk for them, and it already had very high availability, and it is designed in a very multi-region aware manner. If you read the blog post, they talk about how it does it. It is a very highly available service from the get-go, so it has probably very low downtime historically.
I would like to see their actual downtime in the last several years. But yeah, I mean, I could see companies starting to opt for longer and longer SLAs, or tighter and tighter SLAs, and not even building out to it. Just, hey, if we're down, we'll pay the 5 minutes. Depending on what your remediation says in your contract. Read your contracts. Read your contract.
Depends on how much of that penalty actually is, right? Like how much are we actually going to get back. And the reality is typically when you're dealing with these SLAs that the service providers never have that much money in the game. It's like, oh, we'll give you 50% of our monthly spend, right? And you're like, okay, that's $5,000, but you just lost me $1 million in sales. Like, it's never commensurate with the actual value you're getting from your business in those SLAs. And if you can get a vendor who's willing to commit to meet your financial risk, then definitely sign that contract right away.
I think for every extra 9 they commit to, they should pay you 10 times the amount of sort of remuneration if there's an outage. So if you commit to 2 9s, that's one thing. But if you commit to 4 9s, you pay me 100 times more than you would have done at 2 9s.
Yeah, I like it.
That sounds fair.
So you start sending people to like pulling plugs out at every Google building you could find, hoping that you have an outage.
Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to let Jonathan build any SLAs.
Nope.
Or SLOs.
Yeah.
Well, Google has announced 21 new features for the Cloud Operations, formerly Stackdriver product. But I swear, if one of them is training, I'm going to lose it. So these 21 items are very interesting here. The first one is general availability of SLO monitoring. This is SLO or service level objectives, which apparently they're probably using for that BigQuery thing we just talked about. Gives the ability to focus on signals and improve the signal to noise ratio. This, along with out-of-the-box alerts, reduces the level of expertise required to monitor production and make it easier to identify and remediate issues before they're impacting critical business metrics. They also added G Suite audit logs and cloud logging, multi-cloud and on-premise with their partnership with former sponsor Blue Medora, now generally available at no additional cost. You can now install, run, and manage cloud logging and monitoring agents across groups of compute engines with a single command. Log buckets, log views, regionalized log storage, improved log routing, and customizable retention. Extended retention of custom and Prometheus metrics, and 10-second resolution for those metrics. The new dashboard API, out-of-the-box dashboards, pub sub alerting notifications, and monitoring query language. And a new log viewer, which adds histograms to the log viewer, adds a log field explorer, and saved and recent searches in the new logs viewer. Integration with traces and log querying language with support for regular expressions. Whew. There's a lot of features that are now available.
That's a lot of stuff.
And observability. So you're welcome.
So are 3 of them trading then, or just one of them?
None of them were training, which I'm shocked, because typically when Amazon's like, or Google's like, hey, we have these brand new things, we're like, and it includes a new webinar that we're announcing next week that you can go join. And I'm like, that's not really a feature. None of them were training this time around, which I was pleased to see. Although they did mention in the blog post thing at the end that there is training available for these new features, but that was not one of the features they counted. So I'll give them a pass this time.
So week 6 of the conference. This is okay.
What is week 6? Since you're looking at it,
Yeah.
it's wild.
Well, it's just interesting. I guess like either all the big flashy news was done up front, or they're waiting for the last week. I'm not real sure, but it sure slowed down.
It's definitely slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Even this week with KubeCon EU, I thought there might be some stuff. It's really been pretty quiet even from KubeCon for GCP. On what they're doing. Although they did announce this feature, which is they're announcing a new joint solution with NVIDIA, now available in beta, that allows customers to run NVIDIA GPU workloads on Anthos across hybrid cloud and on-premise environments. Of course, the limited supply of GPUs in the world, you may need to be able to get them on-premise. You may need to be able to get them in AWS or Azure. And so with Anthos, and a limited supply of GPUs, you can now run your ML AI workloads in other clouds or on-premises with Anthos Control Plane. They build a strong relationship with NVIDIA and leverage the NVIDIA GPU operator to deploy GPU drivers and software components required to enable GPUs in Kubernetes. And the solution works with many popular NVIDIA data center GPUs, including the new V100 and the T4 series that have been around for a little while on Azure and AWS.
So now
And all for the low floor price of $10,000 per month for the 12-month commitment.
I was going to say, like, which one of my children do I sell for either GPUs, which are rare and expensive, or Anthos, which is just expensive?
I think if you want this feature and you're paying for on-prem GPUs, you really don't care how much Anthos costs you. That's how I see it.
Clearly, money's no object.
Yeah. Clearly, I need to work for you because you're going to have a lot of money to throw away. All right, moving on to Azure. Azure, again, has been kind of absent. I think they must be really gearing up for something big, right? That's what it's got to be, because the announcements are just so boring. First one is a new blog post in the Azure Advancing Reliability blog series. This is by Mark Russinovich, the CTO of Azure. This one is focused on automation, communication, and transparency, and details how they view incident communication principles and all of the things about how they run outages and how they do RCAs and the transparency they want to provide to you, an Azure customer, when things go wrong. So if you are curious about how that works, this is a great blog post. Again, this series has been a highlight of the year from Azure because they haven't really done anything else. But this blog series has been fantastic, and really check it out if you're interested.
I like hearing about how any company deals with these difficult things. So I like that companies, especially the larger ones, are publishing these blog series just because it helps, especially if you don't have the scale, to replicate some of these failures in your day job. You can kind of see what people do at larger scales and sort of adapt those principles for your workload. So. Great.
Or accept that you never want to have to do what they're doing and just use a hyperscaler.
That's true, too. Yeah.
The second announcement from Azure this week is Azure Blob now supports soft delete for containers in public preview. Soft delete for containers expands upon Azure Blob Storage existing capabilities such as soft delete for blocks, account delete, locking, and immutable blobs. And when container soft deletes, it is enabled in a storage account. You can delete the container, and their contents are retained in Azure Storage for a period that you specify. During the retention period, you can restore previously deleted containers and any blobs with them. So again, this is undelete for Azure Blob.
Yep, you still pay for it until it's gone.
Yep, but you've deleted it, Jonathan.
It's the scream test. I would like to save money. I'm going to remove all these containers. Oh, no, put them back. Oh, my God, put them back.
That's fair.
Indeed. And that is it for this week's new news. Let's move on to the lightning round, Peter.
All right, let's start with Azure Data Factory. Managed virtual network support is now in public preview.
I really wanted a factory that could work in the world builder above, but this is just a data factory, and I can't use it in the real world.
AWS Transfer Family adds predefined security policies to choose cryptographic algorithms.
Okay, the fact that Transfer Family has predefined security policies for cryptographic means that people just need to move to SFTP. Stop making this complicated. Just move to SFTP, get off your FTP, and everything will be happy. We don't need all this complexity and an FTP product. Thank you.
You're welcome. Amazon Cognito user pools now support customization of token expiration.
I recently used Cognito user pools, and I quickly expired my tokens in favor of using Auth0.
No,
I was going to. It's not going to beat that, though, so it's not worth it.
Oh, come on. Give our listeners the wonderful experience of hearing it anyway.
No, it's been built up too much now.
It's performance anxiety. It's okay.
Yeah. AWS Lambda now supports custom runtimes on Amazon Linux 2.
Because Amazon Linux 1 is end of life in December. So had to do it soon.
Uh-huh. Amazon Lambda also now supports Go on Amazon Linux 2.
Because it supports custom runtimes. So weird.
Yeah.
Is Java next, perhaps, Peter?
Well, let's take a look at the old list. Amazon Lambda now supports Java 8.
Corretto or Oracle?
Corretto.
I mean, that's okay.
Am I supposed to say Corretto?
I think so. Because
It doesn't say on Amazon Linux too. Is it supposed to say on Amazon Linux too?
Yeah, I mean, technically, probably. I just
Amazon AWS Lambda now supports Java 8 Corretto on Amazon Linux too.
There you go. Much better. Appreciate that.
It's one of those bang for your buck feature releases, right?
Yes, all of the above. All right, Amazon S3 access points now support the copy API.
So, how did you get data to the S3 access point previously? Confused.
The put, maybe? The put?
Yeah. Copy API is different. Just think we could have stolen all that Capital One data without even traversing the public internet.
Amazon Connect adds cut, copy, paste to the contact flow designer.
And Joey from Full House says, "Cut it out."
I just
I don't
wonder
even know what
how.
that
Like,
means.
oh, really?
Oh, it's a Full House reference. Come
Yeah.
on.
Oh, I don't have kids.
There's a hand thing you got that I.
It was when you were a kid, Peter. It's not even
I
current
was not
kids.
that young. I don't think I'm that young.
But still no API. Click, 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 click.
Yeah. They cut that.
How do you
out.
cut, copy, paste an API?
How do you cut, copy, paste mouse clicks?
That's a good question.
Amazon Elasticache for Redis now supports up to 500 nodes per cluster.
But I would walk 500 Redis nodes, and I would walk 500 Redis nodes more. You got that one, Peter?
To be the man who
There you go. Yes, thank you. Okay.
to end up on
The
your
only
door.
thing more.
Okay, so
Random.
cultural references for Peter. I've learned.
Yeah, it's
Not
a
so
new,
good.
New thing.
What?
I was just trying to think of the best next
Da-da-da-da.
line.
Da, 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 da. AWS site-to-site VPN now supports IPv6 traffic.
I mean, at least somebody does.
I like it.
Amazon Textract now detects and extracts text even more accurately from tables.
So each one of these models has like a confidence score. So is it, how confident are you? Are you more confident?
What kind of tables? Like dying tables?
Maybe.
If I carve the
tables?
text into the table and then kind
Yeah.
of extract it from the table.
Try poker tables. Amazon Connect now returns agents to their previous status after finishing an outbound call.
I mean, they were disgruntled before. They're disgruntled after.
Yeah. And your prediction that we were all going to say the same thing has come true. Yeah.
And that's why my initials were first.
Amazon EKS now supports UDP load balancing with Network Load Balancer.
I mean, as long as it gets there someday, I guess it's fine.
Jonathan's not going to make the joke. Come on, Jonathan.
I would
You
just
gotta
say
make the joke.
better than not supporting it.
I was going to tell you a joke about UDP, but you wouldn't get it.
Amazon EKS managed node groups now support EC2 launch templates and custom AMIs.
Asking the question, are they trying to make it simpler or more complex? Because it could go either way with launch templates.
Well, it's much simpler to, ruin your Kubernetes cluster.
There you
Yes.
go. Amazon EKS support for ARM-based instances powered by AWS Gravitron is now generally available.
All I can think about with Gravitron is those, fair rides where it spins really fast and the wall, like,
Oh, yeah. Love those things.
they're so much fun. That's all I can think of every time I see Gravitron now.
I think that
Apparently, you can make it
permanently in my head now.
apparently, you can make it way more complicated now with Kubernetes. So there you go. Pulling it back to the article.
There's an internet video of a guy running on one of those things. Have you seen it?
Yes, I have.
And then
That's
jumping and doing a backflip. It's nuts.
crazy.
AWS Cloud 9 releases enhanced VPC support.
Because what I want to do when I want to code is go figure out my VPC first.
No, but think of all the advantages of being able to delete all tables from your database, which is hosted in your VPC directly from your IDE.
Oh yeah, it's great.
This is
Yeah. Perfect. It's only if it's in prod, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the winner for every single question, the answer to every single question is Justin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there one specifically that kind of wins it for him, or just in general?
He just dominated. That was like watching
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Yeah.
in the playoffs.
That's good, because if it was the Kinect one, that would have stung a little bit more.
Yeah.
No. I actually, to be honest, I think my favorite was the Cognito user pools, but I'm not allowed to say that. Amazon might get mad at me. That was a good one.
Actually, we signed up for the podcast to be part of the new Amazon. There's like some podcast thing they're doing on top of Kindles or something like that. So you can be in the Amazon media. Again, clearly, I have not researched the story because it's not for the show. But one of the things I had agreed to is that I would not disparage AWS or Amazon or any Amazon property. And I just kind of was like, yeah, you know what? What are you going to do? Take me off of your platform that no one uses?
Yeah.
Let's roll these dice.
Wow, we're going to get taken off before we've even been on.
And then they yeah, no, I wasn't sure we get approved at all. But then they basically got a lot of flack from a lot of people who were like, yeah, I'm never going to do this agreement, and you're not going to get our podcast and your thing. And so they backed off that. So now we don't get to get banned by AWS. So I'm kind of bummed.
You still might get banned, just not
I mean, we might still get banned,
an
just not
undisclosed
for-
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They just put us at the bottom of the search list.
Exactly. It could happen. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, there are some things coming up here in the next few weeks that we should talk about here. Amazon has several webinars that are quite interesting. I just signed up for a couple of them myself. The Enhanced CI/CD with AWS CDK is available to you on August 26th. And then how to optimize for cost when using Amazon DocumentDB with MongoDB compatibility on the 27th. And SQL Server cost optimization, which, again, the correct answer is get off SQL Server on August 27th at 1 o'clock, as well as how to centrally audit and remediate VPC security groups using AWS Firewall Manager, which I'm just excited to figure out what Firewall Manager does. So I'm going to do that one on August 28th. So do check those out in the show notes and attend those. I guess webinars, because you can't attend them in person. So attend those webinars if you're interested in learning some about these technologies, and we will try to highlight some of those again in the future.
Just happy there are things going on outside of my house.
Yeah, really.
I mean, you're still in your house for them, but yes, I guess they're outside of your house.
At least no riots
Yeah. Fair point.
or fires. Yeah.
Anyway, I have fires outside my house.
Yep.
So, yeah. Luckily, there's about 3,000 tract homes between my house and the fires, so it'll be a while.
Isn't that called fuel?
Yeah, I mean, hang on the wind.
unfortunately.
Right. All right, guys. Well, anything else you want to share here on the Cloud Pod before we sign off for the week in cloud? We would like to thank our
On that
sponsors,
happy note?
Foghorn
No, I think I'm
Consulting
good.
and Commvault. Okay, good. Check out our website, the home of the Cloud Pod, where you can join our newsletter. Well, it's been a fantastic week here in the cloud. Talk to you guys all next week. Tweet us with hashtag
See you later.
#TheCloudPod.
Bye, everybody.